Alright, so I'm going to guess that most of you came here from my main channel, and you've seen this roll already. But in this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down, talk about the things that went well, talk about the things that went poorly, and let's get into this.
Alright, so we're just outside of Boston here at Joe Lauzon's gym, and my friend Woody's gamer tag over here is going to try to roll with Joe. We've actually got a cage here. This is pretty cool. In Russia there would be spikes coming from the cage here and over there, and there would also be flaming chainsaw from ceiling, but so you know, this isn't exactly Russian standards, but I think it will go well. Joe, how much do you weigh?
About 170 pounds.
And Mr. Gamertag, how about you?
I also weigh 170 pounds.
Bullshit!
One thing I kept noticing as I watched this was my own body language. You know, my shoulders are hunched up high. I am not standing tall and proud like I do on a normal basis. I'm kind of scared, to be honest. And the truth is, when you're rolling with someone of the caliber of Joe Lauzon, then it's not that dangerous, right? Nothing's happening in here that he doesn't mean to happen, and he already promised my wife that he wouldn't hurt me, so I'm gonna be all right. But just the same, I walked into this kind of on edge.
About 185.
Okie dokie. So obviously, advantage Woody's Gamertag.
Did you guys notice the dents in the wall behind the cage? Obviously from bodies being thrown into it. Joe, if you're watching this, never fix that. It's an awesome feature in your gym.
Unfair fight.
We have a YouTube commentator versus a professional fighter. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Especially when he has his camera on his head, which is definitely going to help. I would use that as weapon.
And I might.
It's funny, I think Joe was joking there when he said he would use the camera as a weapon, but I'm also pretty sure that the cut I get on my nose from this thing is from when the camera came off. And I walked into it with the notion that Joe would be able to beat me and not damage the camera, but not disrupt the camera. But it came off pretty early in the fight, and as I look at the footage afterwards, I see it was almost pointed towards the ground, so there was no good footage on it to be saved anyway.
Oh my god, the choke on it.
That would be something that you've never hit a camera choke before. You ready for
Not hit a
this?
camera choke.
One of my favorite takedowns to hit against weaker opponents was to back them up against the wall and then pick their feet up off the ground. You'd be surprised how many guys will let you push them backwards to a wall, even people who are experienced fighters. And it had crossed my mind to sit here and play total defense and just sissy out and try to last 15 seconds against Joe. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to, whatever, roll the way that I can. And, if that means that I suffer for it, then whatever. So here I am trying to push him up against the wall. And I think shortly I'm going to try to go for a takedown. I'm going to try to pick up his legs like I would against a normal person. But, of course, Joe's not a normal person.
I don't see this ending well for anyone.
So here we are. It kind of sort of went to plan. I pushed him back against the wall, and I totally owned one of his legs. Had this been a regular guy, I think there's a good chance that, I could have used that leg and drug him to a takedown of some sort. Instead, I instantly find myself defending against what's called a guillotine choke, where he has control of my head. So I have to pop my head out and keep this thing going. Alright, now that might not seem like much to you, but to me, the fact that anything went like I wanted it to go was kind of a victory in of itself. Okay, now over the next 20 seconds or so, what you're going to see is called pummeling. And Joe was flattering later on when he recapped this and said that I bullied him at this part. I didn't do any bullying here. But here's the thing. He wants to have his arm on the inside. He wants to have it under my armpit and not on the outside. Like, you see how he's holding my shoulder there? That's not his objective. He can't really control my body when he's on the outside of my arm like that. So what happens is he sort of works his arm in, and then you'll see me stick my hand under his armpit and then push it forward and sort of grab his lat. And it's just sort of an exercise over who controls whose body. If he were to get his hands under my arm, then there's a handful of takedowns and submissions that I'm vulnerable to. So I'm just kind of working again and again, trying to prevent him from controlling my body. See that? See how he got his arm under mine? I don't want that. That's really bad for me. Now it's hard to tell, but I fixed my left arm and got the underhook, and I lost it on my right, so now I need to pummel and get it back.
I tried to give Woody knife before fight, he would not take it.
Again, it's a small thing, getting the underhook back, even though he's repeatedly trying to take it from me. But, this is Joe freaking Lauzon. I'm just happy anything went the way that I tried to make it go.
Oh, this looks like the end for Mr. Gamertag.
This is really bad. In fighting, there is a hierarchy of positions, and he has one called side control. It is probably the third best position, aside from full mount and back control, that you can have. And I'm in a world of doom here. So what you're going to see me try to do is scoot my hips away from him to create enough space for me to slide my knee under his belly and get him in what's called guard. Guard is, it's called the missionary position in the rest of the world. But what I want to do is control his hips with my body. Hypothetically, if there was striking, then he wouldn't be able to hit me very hard because I control his body. Because we're doing no striking, then I can sweep him and take full mount, or I could hit a lot of submissions from the bottom if I can advance to guard. And that's going to be my objective here. So right here, I'm going to scoot my hips away and try to create enough space to get my knees under his body and across his middle.
This is where he should use knife.
All right, mission accomplished. So this rather gay position is called full guard. I have him in between my legs like that. When rolling with no strikes like this, it's considered about even. If there were striking involved, then he would have the advantage because he could still hit me, and I couldn't do very much at all from the bottom. But again, this is Joe freaking Lauzon. The fact that I advanced my position from being inside control to having him in my guard was kind of a victory for me. Not a real victory, but one of those moral victories that people who never were going to win in the first place get. Now here I'm holding his head down while I have him in my guard, and this is kind of a stalling, I wish I had a better way to say than bitch move. There's not a lot of attacks he can do while I hold his head down like this, but I'm not doing anything to make it win. I'm just kind of delaying the inevitable. But yeah, if you were in this position and you needed to stall or take a breath or whatever, holding his head close like that will get you that breath that you're looking for. And this right here is the beginning of the end. A sharper version of me would have scooted back on my shoulders to prevent him from stacking me like this during the pass. But instead, my shoulders just remain stuck on the ground there, and he advances his position from being in my guard to being in my half guard.
It seems like you okay? No!
And now it's tap time. So what the deal is, this is called a knee bar. He has his sort of pelvis on my knee there. And if he wanted to, he could straighten up his back and break the whole damn thing. But this is Joe Lauzon, right? Nothing's happening here that he doesn't want to happen, and he chooses not to break me. So I'm fine. I sort of knew going into this that it's less dangerous to roll with someone who's a really high skill level than say you're overly aggressive guy fresh out of boot camp or something like that who doesn't really have control of what he's up to. And there you have it. So that was my role with Joe Lauzon. Those were the sorts of things that were going on in my head. I'll give tip of the hat to Joe for controlling the engagement from beginning to end. But there it is. There's the breakdown of what happened when I rolled with Joe.
Oh, there goes round one. Okay. How was that, Mr. Gamertag?
15 seconds accomplished.
I think you bleeding just a little bit there.
Am I?
And there it is. I think that blood on my nose is from when the camera came off. But it's all good. Not the least bit bothered by it. Back when I rolled a lot, I used to have some form of black eye almost half the time. You know, not a full-on black eye, but some sort of facial bruise or a healing black eye or whatever. And I felt really cool about it. Like I was the only guy in my IT department who had black eyes all the time. I used to joke that I was the toughest guy in IT. But it's not a problem. A lot of people ask me if I beat Joe. Did you win? Did you win? No. No, I didn't win. You know, imagine sparring with a 26-year-old Mike Tyson. You know, would you ask that guy if he beat Mike Tyson? Like, no, that was never really on the table. I was hoping the last 15 seconds I did. I was hoping not to fully embarrass myself, and I'll say that's at least partially accomplished. And Joe was totally cool. It's funny that scratch on my nose eventually scabbed up, and I was proud of it in the same way that I just described of my black eyes. And then over the next few days, as it healed, it felt like this really cool souvenir was slowly being taken from me. Like my time with Joe was kind of just disappearing. But he did give me a t-shirt as I left. And, look, like I get lots of t-shirts. I turned down a gazillion t-shirts at PAX and stuff. I just don't really care. But then Joe offered me that t-shirt, and it meant more to me than he might guess. You know, I still have it. It's still fresh. It's that was my t-shirt from when I rolled with Joe Lauzon, and it's pretty neat. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and saw the breakdown. And I don't know, just the getting on the mat, the smell of the gym, it made me want to get back into rolling again or fighting again. We'll see how this goes.